What up, y'all? So, let's finally get into Shadow Mitsuru. It has been a hot minute. I finally can do this video. I'm going to actually jump in. This is still going to be a long video. Let's see what happens. My execution with every single sub-character specifically has been hot ass for like a month and a half, 2 months. So, let's see what happens. And this is going to be weird that I have to talk about my execution. That's because this is a showcase video more than info dump. And I'm also doing this video differently from normal to begin with. So I'm going to showcase a lot of stuff in this video, and that's more important than what is coming out of my mouth besides this beginning. After I talk about Tentarafu, it is up to you if you want the rest of the video. Tentarafu is the main important thing you need with this character, and to understand do that to play Shadow with this character, but I will give excess info that is kind of crucial, but not. Minimum meter values required to play this character, not. Like, it is crucial for you to understand when you can sit there and do your full frenzy, but at the same time, this character gains so much meter, it doesn't matter. And then, the real difference between Normal Mitsuru and Shadow Mitsuru, which I'm going to keep towards the end. Because normally that's something that I would talk about towards the beginning, because that's like fundamental character thing. I'm going to talk about that towards the end in this case. I want to get done with all of the showcase stuff first that matters for playing Shadow. Jumping in, Tentarafu. You have to be able to do that. If you can't do that, or that, you are going to have a hard time playing this character. So, why am I doing a mini section on it? Because of the cancel window. Very important. You use Tentarafu for everything for this character. It is unavoidable that in a frenzy route, you will not use Tentarafu. Or any damage or burst damage route, very seldomly will you not use Tentarafu. It would be hard as fuck for you to not, really. So it's very important to understand the cancel window. So, I'm going to start charging now. After I release Tentarafu, I'm going to start mashing Frenzy, slightly delayed. Inputs weren't completely clean, but if you notice, I did get I should have got multiple Frenzies in there. And none of them did I get Frenzy like I did at the beginning until after that second hit actually happened. So, the thing about Tentarafu, and that's with me messing up a super buffer, you only have 3 frames between the next startup of the move. This move is actually considered 2 parts. There's the startup to the first hit, which is the Mitsuru part. Then after the freeze, which is what you get from the first hit, the second startup, which does actually the rest of the move. Like, let me actually have Yosuke hit me real quick. I gained no meter, and I also did no damage from that first hit. Very important to recognize. On top of the fact that, like being stated actively now, you can't get a single cancel after that second startup happens. So you only have a 3-frame window between that first hit and until the secondary startup. So you have to beat that, which makes this awkward. With that now being talked about, some of you are free now. Well, if you decide that you want to listen to this whole video, thank you. Because now let me talk about doing Frenzy with this character. So, I have meter preset to a value that I'm going to use slightly later than this, but let me get into your basic 3 routes for Frenzy first before I get into the minimum meter value you need to do a full Frenzy route. So, first, let's talk about your optimal Frenzy. Your optimal Frenzy conveniently actually is straight just Tentarafu Frenzy. That is your optimal. is going to give you the most time out of everything to do a full route. So keep that one in mind. It's easy. Your cases of getting into it usually will be air hit sweep. If not air hit sweep, it'll be off of like you did Bufula and then you're doing this Tentarafu after. Those are the cases you're going to sit there and be able to do it from that. Then we have to talk about a different thing, which is your coup draws. Coup draws completely change the game. Let's start with B. B, you now have to consider that sliding time. That slide time is going to be the big change. Because now that they're sliding across the screen, that now means that your super cancel is delayed. Because now you have to delay the super cancel, or your super cancel buffer, because they're no longer right in front of you, like the case of doing air hit sweep and Tentarafu. So that's where the chain comes in, because you have to think about it this way as well. Let's say I'm over here, Frenzy's going to kill all my momentum while he's going across the screen. So I'm no longer able to steer this like I normally would, so if I'm too late, I'm too late. So this is now a timing thing, where you're trying to bang out the timing. Because now you want this to happen as fast as possible, basically. While the super would be delayed there, because now you're dealing with Tentarafu's travel time, let me move here, of getting across the screen to actually get to the character. To make it even harder on you, and this is what I recommend practicing if you are new to this character, is doing auto combo or a coup draw into Frenzy. This is where, if you practice this, you being able to do this consistently should make it so you should do the rest of the character fine. Because this is the harder thing to do. So first off, once we're talking a coup draw, that doesn't combo. Straight doesn't. So that means you need something in between for Tentarafu to combo. That's going to be a B coup draw. So wait, that's a triple charge. Let's talk about it. So immediately after a coup draw, during the Frenzy install, you can use it as charge buffer time. That's cool, easy dandy, right? But you're like, how do I get the Tentarafu? Doesn't Tentarafu, as I start charging now, take like a full second to charge? Well, in Frenzy, nowhere near as long as the time. It's like a third, if not a fourth of the time in Frenzy. That is the one Frenzy benefit for this character. So you're not too worried about the Tentarafu, but you are still banging that out immediately, is the thing. So as soon as you release the B coup draw, you will sit there and immediately have to charge to sit there and do C Tentarafu. That is the thing. Because you need that to happen, because you're still racing the screen. So keep in mind you are still kind of battling timing a little bit. Going from that and showcasing all of that, now let's get into minimum meter value required to do full Frenzy routes. So for this first one specifically, I probably will not land the route, or if I do, it's just convenience. The main thing for this first one is me showing that you can do all of the supers. I will talk about how do you do it to sit there and get it more consistent, but in this first one's case, in the mid-screen case, this is the hardest one. This is absolutely the hardest one. So the first minimum meter value required is 75. I had the meter value set to 49 exactly for this. So this is going to set me at 75. Then Tentarafu, again, the first hit does no meter, no damage, Frenzy. So in order for me to talk about doing Frenzy routes, I have to talk about Mabufu Dine. And let me showcase this part first. So a big thing about Mabufu Dine is your timings. Keep in mind, once they hit and or blocked, they move the opponent back. That is the real reason why doing this mid-screen is actually hard, is because of the fact that you have to be very accurate with that timing or you're going to push the character too far back. Another thing with Mabufudan is the cancel window. And for this, I do have to enter Frenzy. So, I pressed 5A about once her arm came down. So that's about the same recovery time that you have to sit there and do the first super buffer. You being accurate with your super buffers is something you also need for doing these routes. And this is for all 3 of them that I will showcase here for being meter accurate and knowing this is the minimum I need to do this, I'm going to do it. You understanding that as soon as her arm comes down, you can buffer is going to sit there and make it so your meter is not wasted. You get to keep the most out of your meter, and you need that for the case like this. Because if you're going to drop your buffer like I did there, I actually just straight dropped the buffer because that's too early. You are going to spend all this excess time to sit there and do another buffer, which means that you won't be able to do the SB kick. And keep in mind, her Frenzy is a double kick route. You're doing 2 full charge kicks. So you have to be accurate with those. Another thing with this is steering, and I will talk about this now. So you want to be as close as you can in all aspects of doing this route in a mid-screen case. Like, about that distance I had for the Frenzy is ideal. You can sit there and, like, be weird. And, like, that will put me too far. I had to sit there and I'm charging 6 and I'm switching back to 4. But you want to be about here. And I'm going to tell you, just because of that walk forward, I can no longer do this route. Just that walk forward made it so I can no longer do that route. That is how crazy accurate this route is. Ideally, you do move forward while doing this route. And this is me actually attempting it now. I think I'll barely be off. Nope, barely hit. So you want to be able to sit there and be as close as you possible because there's a lot of steering. You're steering your supers, you're steering your setup, and the timings. All of that is necessary for you to do this route this accurate in a mid-screen case. In corner, it is not as bad because again, they're right here in front of you. You're not worried about the timings as much, you kind of have freedom. In the mid-screen case of you doing it straight off of Tentarafu, you really don't. You are sitting in a case where if you're not accurate enough, you will probably drop. And dropping that kick is crucial because I think the big thing is that the longer you charge this kick, the more recovery it really has. It doesn't look that long. But it is definitely long in the case where if you were holding this the whole entire time, she's sitting there for a while. And it's one thing if they block the kick, but if you are out of range and the kick whiffs, you are probably getting cooked. So that's why I have to talk about being accurate here. Another thing is that being accurate also kind of affects your damage. I don't think I could do this as optimal as I would like to right now. And that's just because my sub execution has been bad. But I think the damage it showcased me doing was 5841. That was me failing a buffer. If you're doing this perfect, from what I've noticed, you get it as accurate as it needs to be. I'm pretty sure the damage is 5949. So it basically does 6k. And this is literally off of the same setup. But I think it's like a kick thing. I think it's a kick spacing thing. I think I have to be closer on that final kick. That's how it works. I can't directly tell you, but it's very important to know that like the more accurate you are, the better you will be with it. That's just straight up how it works. Finally getting out of that route and taking way too much time out of this video for this beginning, but that's 15 minutes, whatever. I expect this video to be somewhere between 22 to 25 anyway. Let's get into your full screen routing / mid screen routing. Let's talk about the ones from coup draw, because this is where the game changes. Because now with coup draw, we are now in the vein of talking multiple travel times, because now this is the thing. And see the frenzy time change, very important. That is me straight doing it. I don't find this route hard, but there are a lot of changes from that route I first showed, and that's where I have to get into things. So I think a very important thing to me to talk about now is actually ways you drop Bufus, and that is literally based off of how coup draw hits. So as you saw with this version of the route and me doing the freeze, that coup draw hits and they are frozen. That only will happen on an air hit. Your air hit B coup draw is the only case that will happen. And for proof of this, I'm going to sit there and do this. That didn't freeze. It is some weird thing. I have to say it's height dependent. I don't know exactly how it works. It is weird. But it's very important to know off your air hit B coup draw, you can add the A coup. On a grounded coup draw, most cases you probably can't if you were doing this full screen. In front of your face, you probably can do it with a weird timing. Like if I delay the timing, that should still work. But if I'm delaying the timing in a case where I'm trying to be meter accurate, then you're burning excess timer / you're burning excess meter. And that means you are now making it so if you are not on point and you didn't have meter then to do it, you probably don't have the meter to do it at all. So keep that in mind. So I'm starting with this air hit B coup draw because I think air hit B coup draw is actually more common than grounded B coup draw for this character specifically, and that is something I will talk about once I get to the end, once I'm talking about the real difference between Shadow Mitsuru and normal Mitsuru here. But with air hit B coup draw being more common, expect that you can add that A coup. But then we have to get into the Bufu timing change, because that's kind of where things get weirder. So it's not hard, but you do have to keep in mind, like, you have to be accurate with that first release. Because if that doesn't freeze, you're actually just straight fucked. There is no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You're just fucked, because what are you going to do at that point? At that point, you have to start going for reset stuff because you're no longer doing the kill combo that you wanted to do. So, I released this first Bufu for my Bufu Dine, like right as soon as the sweep connects, in this case. So, like, as soon as that sweep connects, that's once I release it. And that should give you perfect time if you immediately release your A coup draw for it to still freeze, do the whole thing. Your next release after that is not too hard. It's still delayed, but it's not too hard. Like, there's a rhythm to this. It's not the worst, it's not the best, but it does matter that you're sitting there pretty accurate with it. Not for this one, but for these next two. Because you need this super to happen, but look, I'm not going to sit there and press it. Look how fast she disappeared. That was not too long after I started the A myriad arrows and finally got to the kick. That's why the timing matters. Because you are so timing tight on the Bufu releases because of the fact that it's displaced here. That if you are not accurate for the second one specifically, you will probably miss the refreeze. And or if you do get the refreeze, you might have even less time before she disappears off screen, and you need that last D to sit there and have the full kick happen. So keep all of that in mind. And that is with us talking about off of air B-Coup draw. Now we have to talk about A coup draw, which is actually not too much of a difference. That was 87 meter. You need 90. I forgot how I set this up to do this. I'm not even going to lie to myself. That's 92. So 55 will put me at this. With a coup draw, you're going to treat this different because of, remember this. This is different on once it's on the ground. So this will put me exactly at 90. And then we're here. So I'm just going to do that. There will be no Aku. That is how that works. But this does get kind of weird still. Because now that you're doing sweep to a release, you're kind of like, you're not negative edging, but it feels like you're negative edging your Bufus. That's where it gets kind of weird because now your super cancel off the sweep is delayed, so that adds a weird timing too. I didn't get my charge on release, right? I missed. Alright, I messed that up twice. That's whatever. All of my sub execution has been bad, as I stated, so we'll deal with it as it comes. I'm just not even charging at this point. Alright, so as soon as this sweep happens, you release, you have to do a delayed super cancel here for this to work. That's kind of where it gets weird. And you can't delay it too much or you'll drop like that. So it's like, it's weird that you have to do that weird delay. Like, that's the weird part about this, is that you're doing sweep, Bufu hit, delay. Because if you do it immediate, it's not going to freeze because you're going to actively be hitting them. So you have to do it delayed just enough. And it's weird that you have to do it literally just enough. And like, you can't release too early, so you're still on timings. Things with the Bufus, so keep that in mind. So it's one of those weird cases. If my brain can sit there and remember to do this charge at all. Because that's going to happen if you're doing it too fast. Like, you can still get a refreeze, but that's doing too fast. You're not going to get the damage you wanted. And on top of the fact that, again, it's a wasted timer. You're dealing with the fact that the timer is going down. So you have to sit there and be as accurate as you could possibly be. Because you're not trying to drop. As I have dropped twice. Like, this is pretty accurate still, too. I think that's off. It's not. It's just the way of the world with this character. So, with all that being showcased, now I'm going to set this to no meter to talk about what makes Mitsuru and Shadow Mitsuru different. Which, after a lot of this long-ass showcase, you think it's the ability to frenzy, and it's really not. The biggest change is her auto combo. that is what makes me have to do this whole intro, is her auto combo. Um, because the thing is with normal Mitsuru, if you watch that intro, she has to do all this interaction bait game, plus like coup draw hits and etc. Like she's doing all that to get her damage. That is what normal Mitsuru has to do. Because all of the damage that truly matters won't happen without that unless you're in the corner or they got hit by something really stupid. The difference for Shadow is that since she's a vanilla Persona character to the Persona fighting game cast, she gets her original auto combo back from Persona Arena. Her getting that back makes it so this is a thing, which is not a thing for normal Mitsuru. And it's like, well, it's one thing when you're doing it in the frenzy, but you have to think about the overall thing about her doing that. Because now, the damage is not much of a change, because once you get hit by this character seriously, she does damage. That's for both Mitsurus. But now that she can just run up to you mid-screen and do a full route, this does change the game a lot. Because now, you see, that's 62 meter? Charm adds 20. That's 82 meter. By itself. And her meter gain for normal Mitsuru, if you saw my later half once I was showcasing like her optimal fatals, is high. She gains like 50 meter off of a freaking fatal route. Her optimal route, she's gaining like 40-50 meter anyway once you know what you're doing with the character. So it doesn't feel like it changed too much. But the big thing is that she's now always has access to doing something like this, which is where that change is drastic. Because when you're thinking about the fact that she always has some type of access to now doing a full route to gain that meter, that is where the fear comes from. And hey, if this character hits me, I might die. If she didn't have the meter gain, that fear would not exist, because the fact that then she would still have to do 2 or 3 interactions. But the fact that her innate meter gain for normal Mitsuru is already high, then Shadow adds meter gain to it, plus she has charm, now makes her the threat that she is. And that is why Shadow Mitsuru is different, because the fact that when she can just hit you and be like, hey, die? Like, this is not going to be a full route. But that still hurts. That's where the difference comes in. This is one thing. This is an ending note. I'm actually going to make a whole video concept on this now. I want to further talk about Shadows, because I don't think people fully understand Shadow meta, where I will be doing a 3-part series on Shadows, and this is me talking about it early. But one thing about Shadow Mitsuru, and let's see if my execution allows this, because as you've seen, my execution has been wonky through this whole video, but I said, fuck it, I'm just going to finally put this video out. I do not care. Is understanding their advanced meta and advanced things they can do. A big thing for Shadow characters, and some normal characters too, is abusing first attack bonus. First attack bonus is a very crucial thing when you think about. This makes a poke that does like what, 3 meter? That puts me at 13. So that gains me an extra 10 meter, and that is a really crucial meter gain thing once you have to put in perspective what getting hit by someone first is. So, I'm going to end this video with this, and I'm going to let it speak for itself. I did this in the preview video for the whole section for this character once it comes to Mitsuru, because I showcased Shadow Mitsuru first, then I did normal Mitsuru stuff. So this is a recap of that. If you get hit by round start 5A of this character, you might have to fear for your life. And the reason being is because of the fact of the auto combo change, because if normal Mitsuru did it, it's B would whatever, unless it was counter hit. But if you just run into a non-counter hit 5A against this character, it is a problem. Another thing about this is that it starts leaning into advanced shadow meta per shadow character. And that will be the third and final video of the Shadow series. But let me just get you out of here because this video is longer than I expected and is now also 30 minutes like the normal Mitsuru intro. You ever take 7.7k off a round start? That's a Shadow Mitsuru thing. Alright, y'all. So I have a lot of videos that are going to come out in due time. A lot of them will probably get recorded post Taku. And I'm going to be dropping some concept videos instead of character intros. On top of, for this character, I have to do B&Bs again because of the fact that with Shadow Mitsuru specifically, B&Bs change. So you expect to see a whole dedicated rework section for this character compared to normal Mitsuru. She will have her own playlist. I was debating putting them in the same playlist, but since I can find them different characters, she'll have a separate playlist. So expect a lot different videos to come out post Taku, just because of the fact that I will be dropping concept videos on top of the videos for this character. I'm probably not going to record them before because it looks like now I probably will be working all the way up until I have to fly out. Thank you for tuning into this long video. Later.